Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Perhaps some of you have been asked the question or played the game that challenges you to answer an impossible question. If, God forbid, you had no choice but to flee your home, your place of comfort, what would you take with you? What is the thing you would run back into your home to grab? What could you possibly not live without? Would it be the things that line your shelves, knickknacks, a piece of home decor, a souvenir from an unforgettable vacation, signed memorabilia, maybe something you won at the silent auction at the Temple Emanu-El Gala, March 23rd, coming up, mark your calendars. Would it be one of your electronics, your phone, your iPad, a laptop, a TV, some item that you're logged into and you can't live without because you don't know the password for it, you can't start over again? Would you try to schlep the big objects, your bed, your couch, a fridge, a piece of artwork that has hung on your wall your entire life? Or is it an object with less monetary value than sentimental? The candlesticks from your bat mitzvah, the kiddush cup you drank from at your wedding, or the pot your grandmother used to cook chicken soup in every week? What would it be? I'll throw it out to you. What would you take from your home? Passport? Oh, I didn't think about that one. Photo albums? Anything else? Oh, cat. Is a cat an object? Oh, okay, it is. What else? Feel like we covered it? Books? Pictures? My wife, of course, yeah. Everything sentimental. Right, the question becomes a lot easier when there's an electronic device that can have everything on it, but it doesn't work as well for the game. Sorry? An old book. A physical book.
Like a family book, a book that has family history in it.
Got it, a family history book. I will say that the last time I was asked this question, I was a teenager, and when I was a teenager, I loved my iPod. Not an iPad, an iPod, the little thing that only played music, couldn't connect to the internet, but it turns out I can live without my iPod now in 2023. Who would have thought? So as I imagine, most of the answers would be things of sentimental value, something that has some attachment to the people we've learned from and shaped who we are, the keepsakes of those people and the people that we want to hold on to literally and figuratively. Those are the objects that truly matter, the ones that we could not live without. This week's reading of Parshat Beshalach gives us a similar answer. What is the most important thing that the Israelites take with them when they leave Egypt? This is the moment we've been building to for the last 3 weeks of Torah readings, as the Israelites are about to cross the sea and go from slavery to freedom. Of course, we know they leave with matzah, but they also leave with the looted silver and gold of the Egyptians. But there's something much more important that is taken out of Egypt when Moses takes, exactly, the bones of Joseph. At the end of the book of Genesis, on his deathbed, Joseph has his brothers promise him they will take his bones with them so that even if he can't return to Israel while alive, he can symbolically return to Israel when the time is right. And this week, Moses fulfills the next part of that promise by taking Joseph's bones with them before the exodus from Egypt. So what is it about the bones of Joseph that Moses has to go out of his way to grab them? Why does the Torah go out of its way to tell us that Moses took the bones of Joseph? According to rabbinic commentary, Moses was not merely taking the physical bones of Joseph with him when they left Egypt. It was more than that. Moses is carrying along with him those who came before him and paved the way for the Israelites to be there at this moment. It is a return to generations of stories that preceded him, the last link to the ancestors that Moses never even met. Moses is carrying the legacy of those ancestors on his shoulders, along with the whole Jewish people. It is the past that will help shape his future. When we open the book of Exodus with the story of the Jewish enslavement in Egypt, the scene is set with a new Pharaoh rising to power, who we are explicitly told did not know Joseph. Joseph's story was very nearly forgotten, lost to his descendants. And now, even though they never met, Moses remembers Joseph. The Israelites may have taken silver and gold, but Moses took something much more important: the memory of those who came before him. And Moses does that same thing that we do every day in our own lives. We constantly carry the bones of our ancestors along with us. They're in our names. Those spirits are present when we meet the old friends who knew our lost loved ones, and we are lucky to hear a story we've never heard before. Or when someone tells us that we have our grandfather's eyes, and hopefully not his hairline. Our lives are shaped by the memories, the traditions, the heritage, and the stories of those who came before us. This past year, a story began to circulate about a man named Jackie Young, who now in his 80s is a retired cab driver in London. Born in Vienna in 1942, Young is a survivor of the Holocaust and was just a baby at the time. The early years of his life were spent in Theresienstadt, and after his miraculous survival, he was adopted by a family in England. Jackie Young didn't grow up knowing any of this information, and it was only when he was asked to prove he was Jewish in preparation for his wedding that his adoptive parents told him only pieces of his story, but not the whole thing. He was shocked to learn that not only was he adopted in the first place, but that he was in fact a child of the Holocaust. But there was still more to Jackie's story to be told, and it took him years to hear it. On his birth certificate was his mother's name, and where his father's name should have been, just a blank line. He had no idea where he had come from, and how he had miraculously survived almost the first 3 years of his life in Theresienstadt. With no other logical explanation that made sense to him, Jackie Young speculated that his father must have been a Nazi, and that was how he was able to survive while some 9,000 other children were deported from Theresienstadt to death camps. Those 6 decades of wondering, however, ended this past year. With the help of genetic testing, he was able to find out that he was a 99% Ashkenazi DNA, meaning his biological father almost certainly was not a Nazi, as he had feared for most of his life. He now thinks that he was spared because he was one of the children the Nazis presented publicly as propaganda for to deceive the Red Cross. These are the bones that make up Jackie Young's life story, that he waited his whole life to find out. Not only were genealogists and researchers able to discover his father's story, but they traced his family tree going all the way back to the early 1800s in what was then a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and is now modern-day Austria. Thanks to that life-changing technology of genealogy tests, the person who spent his entire life wondering who he was now miraculously has contact with his long-lost cousins and proudly has a framed family tree hanging on his wall at home. This is just one account among the many from those who have survived the Holocaust and are seeking out those stories of survival that would have otherwise been lost to history. Ancestry.com, in partnership with the Center for Jewish History, has recently announced the donation of 2,500 DNA kits to help Holocaust survivors find lost relatives. They're hopeful that other stories like Jackie Young's will come to light that will allow those people to see where they came from before it's too late. This announcement, in conjunction with last week's commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, there's a little blue button. To the right. Anyway, thanks, Rika. This announcement and last week's commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day remind us how important it is to know the stories of where we came from and whose bones we carry with us every day of our lives. There's a scene in Shtisel, the Netflix show about the ultra-Orthodox family in Jerusalem, and this scene gives me goosebumps every single time I watch it. I apologize in advance for spoiling the scene, But if you have not watched the show yet, take this as your invitation to start watching as soon as tonight after Shabbat ends. It's terrific, and I can't recommend it strongly enough. There's a pivotal scene in the show in which the patriarch of the family, the very well-respected, but ultimately very lonely, Rav Shulam Shtisel, begs his adult son and his brother to sit with him and just have one cup of soda before they have to leave the house and leave him alone. As the three of them sit there awkwardly, sipping from their cups of seltzer, Shulam begins to tell them about a line that stuck out to him from an Isaac Bashevis Singer story that he had read. In Yiddish, he tells them, "The dead don't go anywhere. They're all here. Every man is a cemetery, an actual cemetery in who lie our grandmothers and our grandfathers, the father, the mother, the wife, the child. Everyone is really here all the time." And as the camera pulls back, the table where the three characters have been sitting quietly fills up with people, the family members who have passed. One by one, we see characters who have died along the way throughout the show, and ones we've never even met before. Sons and daughters run around the table laughing and playing. Husbands and wives bicker. Fathers and mothers smile and joke. They share challah and kugel. It becomes a home of love once again, with the spirits of those loved ones lost, bringing light and joy into the room. It turns out they were never really alone, because the people who have come before live on within us. We feel their presences daily, even if we don't physically see them. Like Moses, we carry their bones with us, cherishing their memories, sharing their stories, reflecting on the lessons they taught us, and always hanging on to the lives they led. We remember who they were, recognize the ways they shaped us, and appreciate the impact that the bones we carry, have on us every day. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat.